Alright, what's up everybody? We are finally here to kind of go through the settings of the Starlane Davinci-II S Tach that I put on my ZX10. It's pretty straightforward for the most part. I've only had one complication, and that's the turn signal indicator. While the turn signals work, I can't get it to indicate on the Tach that the turn signal is actually on. So run the risk of actually leaving it on and being that guy who rides with the blinkers on. Other than that, I've had no other issues out of the Tach. This Tach is capable of a whole lot, but majority is more of a track use accessory. I got it more so for looks and the shift light setup on it. We'll try to go through as much as we can as far as setup, and I'll talk about some of the functions that Tach does that are more track oriented. To start out, once the Tach is hooked up, you have the plug and play. Operation of the Tach is similar to OEM. You'll use the select and up down arrows on your clip-on to toggle through the menu. So the same setup as you do standard, you would hold select to go into your power select mode menu, start adjusting your power from full, medium to low. Traction control, same thing. You'll toggle to KTRC, and you can go through your traction control settings 1 through 3. Kawasaki engine brake controller, you can turn off or low. Quick shifter, turn it on and off. And the launch controller, the KLCM from 1 through 3. It's all set up the same way. Haven't figured out how to reset the trip on this one. That's the other thing, but if I can't reset it, no big deal. I usually keep track of mileage when I gas up anyway. Bike reads lean angle. It'll record your lowest or highest lean angle, depending on how you look at it. Display it, so if you reach 34 degrees and that's the lowest you get to, it'll always display that 34 degrees on whichever side you did it. The Tach also reads longitude and latitude G-force acceleration, but you won't see that on the gauge. You'll have to put it to the software on a computer or tablet in order to pull that information. Initial startup, if you go into the menu, there's an enter button and cancel button on the left side. Then there's an arrow up and down select on the right side of the Tach. You go into the menu, you select options. You should be able to find your make and model of your bike, and that'll set up a lot of the configuration as far as the settings and stuff go for the motorcycle. You'll see an option that says vehicle model, hit enter, go through and select your vehicle model. That's pre-programmed in here, which a lot of the newer bikes are. I haven't looked at the full list on it, so can't tell you what's the oldest bike, but you can tell that once you go to order it. It'll tell you which bikes are already predetermined for it based on the plug and play cable. It'll tell you things, measuring system, you can do metric or imperial. So if you're not in the States, you can get kilometers per hour. You're in the States, miles per hour. Temperature Fahrenheit versus Celsius, that type of thing. You can choose languages. There is something called intermediates, which basically reads absolute or relative. I have mine set on absolute. I'm not sure what it affects. I hadn't played without it. There's a freeze time setting, which basically I think when you're doing your laps, it'll display your lap time and leave it on there for whatever you set it to. It's set for 20 seconds right now. That's all the options in the option menu. Once you go into the menu screen for the Tach, there's a couple of different options you can look at. There's the analysis tab, which will basically pull up your track times for each lap, just a grid display. It won't give you all the specifics like you would get once you connect to the tablet. There are certain preloaded tracks already in the memory. Some of the more famous tracks that they do, probably MotoGP and World Superbike, are already programmed into it. But you're able to get any track through the software downloaded onto. So I have to go in here and check and see if Barber is in here for when we plan to go to Barber, which I think will be a lot of fun. So you got analysis, you got tracks, you got the options menu, you have channels. Which channels I think is all the readouts for different things. You can calibrate the channels. But the channels I think is for the accessories you can add to the Tach. There's a wireless adapter that adds additional features to the bike to read out. Like you can get a O2 sensor replacement to read your air-fuel ratios. It'll display it on the Tach, but that's an accessory that you can buy to go with the Tach to hook into the exhaust, and it'll read your air-fuel ratios while you're riding on the track. There's a bunch of other features I haven't looked all into because wasn't really any use to me other than the air-fuel ratio might be one I might make an investment in later. It's got different monitors for it, ECU monitor, analog monitor, digital monitor, and a CAN bus, which the CAN bus is, I think, the accessory for the tag. I don't think you have to fool with any of this if you buy this unless you buy a bunch of the accessories that go with the tag. Aside from channels, you also have what they call alarms, which is basically your indicators on the tag. So you have your FI light, your turn signaling, your high beam, your fuel light, your oil pressure light, and your neutral light. As well as in here, you can set the scale of your RPM. So basically, if your RPM gauge red line with 15, you would set the RPM scale at 15,000 RPMs, and it'll display that, and the max will be 15. You also set the LED progression bar to the shift point, so you can tell it what RPM to start building the LEDs up to before it reaches your shift point. Mine, I have it set at 12,000 RPM, so by the time it gets to, I think I have mine set for 13.7 as my shift point, because the red line, I think it's 14.1 with the increase through the flash software. You can set the color of your shift light in the alarm setup, and there is an H2O table, which it has a manufacturer selected in here, which is Kawasaki on mine. I'm not sure. Yeah, it lets you select the manufacturers for this table. Some of the bikes they got in here is the Kati 998, Kati 999, MV Augusta, Kawasaki, Suzuki, and Yamaha. Honda's in here too. And then they have a default for Starlane. I guess you can calibrate that based on whatever you have. And that is it for the alarms. As far as the alarms go, after I set the model for the bike, the only thing I had to do was the fuel. The fuel light was on whenever I hooked it up. Basically, it has a volt reading, basically where it reads where the arm is inside the tank to tell you the fuel level. What you'll do is fill your tank up, go into this setting, and it'll tell you what its current value is. With the tank being full, you will go ahead and indicate that current value as full in the tank, and that'll register where it is full. And I think it already has a set value for what the gas light should come on at. If not, you can ride around. You can also set the fuel light point as well. So once you get right around to where it's kind of low, or you know you're going around enough to where your gas light usually comes on at, you can set the reserve level also in here by letting it see what value is at once the fuel tank is at a certain level, and then save it. Because with everything else, you can choose LED location based on the number marks on the side of LED indicators, which is basically A1 through A8. So for right now, I got fuel set for A7, and the color indicator is orange. So you can choose the color of the LED, the location of the LED for each one of the settings. You can tell if you want the light on while it's full or on when it goes to reserve. So it's fully adjustable in that aspect. Everything else, once I select the model, it pretty much dialed itself in. I didn't have to set the oil light, didn't have to do anything with the neutral. I did have to adjust the high beam. It was backwards. The high beam, when the indicator was on low, it indicated it was on, the high beam was on the tag. So I had to reverse the settings on the high beam, which it was just a matter of going into the setting. Again, it reads current value. While it was off, I hit enter and said this is low beam. Turned it on, it read the value, switch on. I told it this is when the high beam is on, saved it. And then that's how I got the indicator to read correctly. I think that is it as far as alarms. There's also the GPS setting for the speedo. Basically, in this option, it gives you GPS status. Basically, it'll just tell you how many satellites are in the area that it'll read off of. And you can also set your local time for the clock display. And I think it only does a 24-hour setting, so you have to know military time for the most part. Once you get past 12 o'clock, then it's 1300, 1400, everything like that. That's it for the GPS setting. I have mine set to read GPS speed since it's more accurate than the wheel sensors. I did get out and test it out with the new GoPro 7, which also has accelerometers and everything in it. It does speed based on GPS, and in the video, it's only off by about 1 mile per hour, but it could be lag time with the GoPro as opposed to the tachometer. But they were pretty accurate, pretty close within one another when I did a couple of pulls with both of them set up. The only thing that sucks about the GPS, if you go into a long enough tunnel, it will stop reading speed. I rode through Josh's favorite tunnel just out on a test ride, and Once I got into the tunnel, it immediately started reading 0 on speed, but as soon as I came out, it was right back to where it was supposed to be. So that's the only downside to GPS speed. It's not like you're gonna be going underground or anything while you're riding, at least not for too long, but so that shouldn't be an issue. But I like the GPS speed, it's a lot more accurate. Once you're out of the GPS menu, it'll show memory for the system, which you can see meter hours, memory status is also in here, which I have nothing in it right now because I haven't done anything to track, but it shows the number of sessions, how much resource it uses, the number of laps, and how much resource the number of laps you use. You can clear your sessions out of here from the memory settings, clear last sessions, clear all sessions, you can clear your downloaded sessions, and it allows you to format the memory. You can also link certain Bluetooth devices to the tag. It has a Bluetooth signal in it as well, which I think it's 4.0, Bluetooth 4.0. I don't know if there's anything on the phone that you can manage on this thing through Bluetooth. I hadn't played around with that, but it does have Bluetooth capability, and that is the last option. The other thing you can see is system info, and basically it tells you serial number, your firmware version, and the TAC and what model it's connected to, which mine is ZX10. That's it as far as settings and things go. Like I said, most of this stuff is primarily track oriented. So to get the full experience of this tachometer, we have to go to the track just to get the data pulled out of it and see what all it does. From what I can tell, it automatically keeps your laps as you do laps on the track. Program whatever track you're at into it. From some of the sample screens I saw on the website, it'll actually show where you're accelerating on the track, where you're decelerating, where you're actually braking for each lap, so you can kind of pull into the pits and analyze how you're doing, trying to get consistent for guys that actually keep over lap times and trying to improve and be faster. It's a pretty good tech for that. Of course, if you guys have any other questions, leave them in the comments. If I don't see them, Josh will let me know. I'll answer as many questions as you guys have. I don't have a problem. I know a couple of videos ago, I can't think of who it was now, but we went back and forth probably 30-something comments.
I think that was 413 zone. Is that him?
Yeah, 413. Yeah, 413. Again, I don't have a problem answering questions. It's part of why I do this, to give out whatever knowledge I have to share with everybody. So don't think you ever bother me asking questions. I'll answer 1,000 questions if possible. That's it. Starlane Davinci-II S. I really don't know what the difference is between the S model and the R model, but I assume that the R has a lot more track-oriented, race-ready type applications than the tag. Another thing that it does read, before I forget, it does actually tell you battery voltage readout on the display down in the lower right-hand corner. So if you start your bike up and it starts to get low, you'll see how many volts the battery actually has, and it'll show you how far a battery actually drops when trying to start a motorcycle up. That actually comes in handy with the lightweight battery that I have, because if that thing is too low, it's not really something you want to jump off and run, because you'll burn those out pretty quickly, I think. Luckily, the battery I have has like a emergency start kind of setting to it, where you can push start it one last time. If that didn't work, then call somebody with a truck and a trailer. The battery voltage readout is probably one of my favorite things on it, other than the lean angle. And no, I don't know what the max lean angle I've hit on it just yet, right around on the street, because we haven't had just good riding conditions to really pushing it that far. That's it. Starlane Davinci-II S Tachometer.